Hello and welcome back to the Data Zen AI Podcast. The energy in the studio today is absolutely electric.
It feels different, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because we are not just talking about the future in some, abstract sense anymore. We're talking about now. It's early 2026.
Right.
And if you've been paying any attention to the headlines, or heck, even just looking at your own workflow, you know that the landscape has completely shifted underneath our feet.
It certainly has. It feels like we finally moved past that wow phase.
The honeymoon period.
Yeah, exactly. That initial shock of generative AI where everyone was just amazed that a computer could write a poem. We've settled into something much more substantial and, frankly, much more complex.
This is the deployment era.
That's the perfect term for it.
And that's why we're doing a proper deep dive today. We have a massive stack of reports on the desk in front of us. We're talking the latest from Agentic, insights from the World Economic Forum, Deloitte, McKinsey, and even the official guide to the EU AI Act.
It's a heavy stack.
It is. And our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We are done talking about cool chatbots. We are talking about agents. We are talking about autonomous systems.
Yeah.
And we are talking about the laws that are now actually governing them.
And that distinction is just so vital. The theme for 2026 isn't, can AI do this anymore?
Roto.
It's, how do we govern what the AI is already doing? We're moving from the hype cycle into what the World Economic Forum calls the reckoning phase.
We're reckoning. Sounds a bit ominous.
Well, if you're an optimist, you could call it the production phase. It's no longer a question of if you use AI. It's about how it's fundamentally reshaping your infrastructure, the economy, and, global governments.
And just to hook you right out of the gate, I want to throw a number at you from this Agentic report.
Okay.
They surveyed hundreds of technical leaders, and get this, 81% of businesses plan to implement complex AI agents in 2026. 81%. That is not a niche experiment anymore. That is the new standard operating procedure.
It is, but, and here's where all the nuance comes in, just because everyone is doing it doesn't mean everyone is seeing instant, amazing results.
Ah, the fine print.
The fine print. We're going to talk about something called the productivity paradox, which, explains why adopting this incredible tech might actually make you slower at first.
Slower before you get faster.
Exactly.
Oh, I love a good paradox.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We keep throwing around this term agentic AI. I feel like in 2024, 2025, we were all obsessed with generative AI. So for anyone listening who might be catching up, what is the fundamental shift here? What's the difference?
The simplest way to think about it is a shift from chatting to doing.
Okay.
With the old generative AI or Gen AI, the workflow was very linear. You prompt the bot, it gives you an answer, maybe a draft of an email or a snippet of code.
Right.
And then you, the human, have to take that output and actually do something with it. You are the bridge between the AI and the real world.
Right. I'm the middleware. I'm a copy paster in chief.
Precisely. You're the friction point. And agentic AI is all about removing that friction. We're seeing the rise of what the International Banker is calling large action models, or LAMs.
LAMs, okay.
And these models don't just generate text, they interact directly with software interfaces, with APIs. They can reason, they can plan, and they can execute these really complex, multi-step workflows with minimal human oversight.
So let me get this straight. Instead of me asking the AI to write an email to a client to schedule a meeting, and then I copy it, paste it, send it, an agent would.
What? An agent would look at your calendar. Maybe it has access to the client's public calendar. It would negotiate a time via email.
All on its own.
All on its own. And then it might book the flight if you need to travel. It could even start the visa application process if it's an international trip.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. If the flight gets delayed, the agent sees that notification and automatically adjusts your meeting schedule in real time. It sends updates. You don't have to intervene.
That's a whole other level.
It creates a loop. Observation, thought, and then action. And looking at the State of AI Agents report from Agentic, this is moving into production incredibly fast.
These numbers, they're real.
They're very real. They found that 57% of organizations are already using agents for these kinds of multi-stage workflows.
That's over half. That feels like a tipping point has been passed.
It really does.
And what stood out to me in that data is that 16% already have cross-functional agents.
Yes.
So not just an agent living inside the marketing team or one just for the dev team, but an agent that spans multiple departments.
And that is where the real power lies, but it's also where the real complexity comes in.
How so?
Well, imagine you have a marketing agent that identifies a new consumer trend. It could then brief a creative agent to design a campaign,
Okay.
which then coordinates with a media buying agent to launch it across different platforms. And all of this happens while just keeping a human manager in the loop for final approval.
You've just created a synthetic workforce.
That's the term for it. A synthetic workforce. It sounds like science fiction, but it's the reality of 2026.
And what's interesting is how companies are building these. The Amnesia report, it highlights this hybrid approach.
Yeah, this part is fascinating. About 47% of companies, so nearly half, aren't just buying off-the-shelf agents.
Right. They're not just going to the agent store.
No, they're mixing pre-built solutions with their own custom-built components. They realize that to get a real competitive advantage, a real edge, you can't just use the same agent that everyone else is using.
Right, because if everyone has the same super smart intern, then nobody really has an edge. It just becomes table stakes.
Exactly. It's the new baseline.
So let's talk about what these agents are actually doing. I assume coding is still a huge piece of this pie.
Oh, absolutely. It is. About 90% of organizations are using AI for coding assistance. But the big shift, is that agents are now handling the entire life cycle.
What do you mean by life cycle?
It's not just write me a function anymore. It's build this feature, write the documentation for it, create the tests, run the tests, and then submit it for review.
So from idea to deployment, basically.
Pretty much. But the big story for this year, and for you listening, is that it's not just for the techies anymore.
That's what I was going to ask.
The highest impact use cases outside of engineering are things like data analysis, report generation, and automating internal processes. The stuff that bogs everyone down.
I saw some really great examples in that Amnesia source that, they really brought this to life. L'Oreal, the cosmetics giant.
Yeah.
They're using what they call an orchestrator agent. It's powered by Claude, apparently.
Yeah.
So basically, an employee asks a question, any question.
Mm-hmm.
And this orchestrator doesn't just, guess from the internet. It pulls data from multiple internal systems, sales data, product master data, geography data, and synthesizes an answer.
And the accuracy is the key part of that story.
99.9% accuracy.
That's the number. And you have to think, back in 2024, we kind of tolerated hallucinations. It was part of the charm, almost.
Funny quirk.
A funny quirk. In 2026, in a business context, 99.9% is the minimum requirement. You cannot run a global logistics chain on hallucinations.
No, you definitely cannot.
Another example that really struck me was Thomson Reuters. I mean, they deal with complex legal analysis.
Right.
It used to take their lawyers hours, sometimes days, to comb through 150 years of legal expertise and precedent. Now their agents deliver that comprehensive analysis in minutes.
It's a total game changer for that profession. And what about Easentire in cybersecurity?
That one's incredible.
They compress threat analysis from 5 hours down to 7 minutes.
Just think about that. That isn't just efficiency. That's not just saving money on salaries.
No.
That is the difference between stopping a hack in its tracks and, losing your entire customer database.
It's a business survival level improvement.
Exactly. And that's what the International Banker article points out. These aren't just efficiency plays anymore. They're becoming fundamental sources of competitive advantage.
If you can react to a cyber threat in 7 minutes and your competitor takes 5 hours.
You win. You survive. They might not. Or think about a startup like Lovable, they were mentioned in the report.
A web dev startup, right?
Yeah. If they can ship code 20 times faster than a traditional manual team, they can completely disrupt the market. They can iterate, they can pivot, they can outmaneuver everyone.
It just changes the entire unit economics of the business, the whole foundation.
Completely.
So that's the digital side, which is, mind-bending enough. But one of the trends for 2026 that really caught my eye in the Deloitte report is that AI is, it's leaving the screen.
Yes, it's getting physical.
It's physical AI. Tell us about that.
This is really the convergence of AI software with robotics hardware. We're seeing traditional dumb robotics being transformed into adaptive learning machines.
So we're not just talking about a robot arm in a car factory that does the exact same weld every 30 seconds for 10 years.
Correct. That's old automation. That's programming. We're talking about robots that can operate in unstructured, unpredictable environments.
Like the real world.
Like the real world. Deloitte mentions restaurants deploying robots robots for food prep and even serving to mitigate some of the, the chronic labor shortages in that industry.
I can see that.
Or utilities using autonomous drones for grid inspection. A drone can fly along a power line, spot a tiny crack in a remote tower, and decide on its own to zoom in, take a 3D scan, and flag it for repair, all without a human pilot telling it what to do.
And then there's healthcare. This is maybe the most profound one. This Fujitsu source on 5P medicine is fascinating.
It really is.
We're apparently moving from population-based medicine, where, we treat everyone with the same disease in roughly the same way.
Right, the one-size-fits-all approach.
To something they call truly individualized prevention.
The 5P concept is, it's potentially revolutionary. It stands for preventative, predictive, personalized, participatory, and, well, the main thing the source emphasizes is that massive shift to prevention.
So how does AI enable that?
The idea is that an AI system analyzes your entire data profile, your genetic makeup, your lifestyle data from your watch, your environmental factors. Everything. And from that, it predicts these complex survival models and disease risks. They specifically call out cardiovascular and autoimmune issues years before you would ever share symptoms.
That is incredible. It's like having a doctor who is constantly, silently monitoring your data and saying, hey, just a heads up, based on your genetic markers and the fact that you've been stressed lately, let's adjust your diet now to avoid a heart attack in 5 years.
And it empowers the patient. It brings you into the process. But, and this is a really important caveat from the Fujitsu report,
Okay.
they strongly emphasize that human professional interpretation remains absolutely vital.
So AI doesn't have the final say?
No. The AI provides the risk model, the probabilities, but a human doctor, a professional, helps you navigate what to do with that information. We aren't handing our health entirely over to the algorithms just yet.
That's reassuring.
The nuance of human physiology, of psychology, that's still something the machine can't fully replicate.
Good, because I do not want a robot giving me bad news without at least a little bedside manner.
Right.
Now, shifting gears to money, because money makes the world go round, the international banker talks about embedded finance 2.0.
This is a really subtle but massive shift. Finance is no longer a destination.
What do you mean by that?
You don't go to the bank anymore. You don't even necessarily open your banking app as a separate, deliberate task. Finance is just becoming part of the journey of whatever else you're doing.
They gave this example of the construction firm, which I thought was great.
Right. So imagine a construction firm. They're using a logistics app to manage their whole fleet of trucks and diggers.
Okay, standard stuff.
In Embedded Finance 2.0, that same app uses real-time telematics data. So how the machines are being used, where they are, how much stress they're under, to automatically calculate and settle the equipment insurance premium.
So the insurance cost actually changes in real time.
Exactly. If the bulldozer is sitting idle in a secure garage for the weekend, your premium drops. If it's operating on a dangerous, muddy slope in bad weather, the premium adjusts to reflect that risk. Instantly.
Seamless.
Or another example they gave, a merchant platform that detects a supply chain delay from one of your suppliers.
Right.
It knows you're going to have a cash flow gap in about 2 weeks because your goods are stuck at a port. So it proactively offers you just-in-time liquidity, a small loan, before you even realize you have a problem.
It's anticipating your financial needs. It's almost invisible.
And that is the goal of so much of 2026 tech, invisibility. It just works in the background of your life and your business.
But, and there's always a but, it's not all smooth sailing and invisible magic.
Never is.
We have to talk about the friction. The World Economic Forum put out this great article on AI paradoxes, and I think this is where we need to get really real with the listener.
The paradoxes are essential to understanding why the headlines don't always match the reality people are experiencing on the ground. The first one they mention is the productivity J-curve.
The J-curve. And this explains why, despite all these incredible world-changing tools, some companies are actually seeing a productivity drop.
It's the productivity paradox, and it makes perfect sense if you think about it. When you implement a massive new system like Agentic AI, you can't just drop it in.
Right.
You have to completely redesign your workflows. You have to retrain all your people. You probably have to clean up years of messy data.
Oh, the data cleaning.
The dreaded data cleaning. All of that takes time and energy away from your actual day-to-day work, so your performance dips. That's the bottom of the J.
And then, theoretically, it shoots up on the other side.
Yes. Research from MIT Sloan confirms this. The alignment lag is real, but the subsequent rise in productivity is significant. But you have to survive the dip.
So the danger is panicking in the dip.
Exactly. If you panic during the dip and you pull the plug, you lose everything. It's like renovating your kitchen. Cooking dinner becomes a total nightmare for 3 months.
You're living on takeout.
You're living on takeout. But then on the other side, you have a beautiful chef's kitchen. You just have to survive the takeout phase.
That's a great lesson for anyone listening who's in the middle of a big implementation right now and just feeling frustrated. Stick with it.
Absolutely.
Now, the second paradox is the big one, the one everyone always asks about. Jobs. Displacement versus creation.
The eternal question. The WEF report cites a pretty startling statistic here. They project 170 million new roles will be created.
Okay, that's the good news.
Versus 92 million roles being displaced. So that's a net increase of roughly 78 million jobs globally.
So technically the robots are not taking all the jobs. They're making new ones.
Right. But the nuance, the really critical nuance, is in which jobs. It's not just tech jobs that are growing. There's significant growth projected in frontline roles. Nursing, teaching, construction. Jobs that require a high degree of human touch and physical presence.
But there is a skills gap, isn't there? That's the other side of this coin.
A massive one. The report says 40% of employers anticipate reducing their workforce in areas where tasks can be automated. But at the very same time, the demand for what they call human-centric skills is just skyrocketing.
What are those skills?
Things like analytical thinking, resilience, emotional intelligence, social influence, the things machines are still very bad at.
Which brings us to the paradox that I have to say I found most concerning in the whole stack. The Gen Z lost generation fear.
This one keeps me up at night. The WEF highlights this deep tension. On the one hand, Gen Z are digital natives. 47% of them use Gen AI weekly. They're comfortable with it. But 41% are deeply anxious about it and its impact on their careers.
Why the anxiety? Where does that come from?
Because automation is systematically hollowing out entry-level roles. Think about how you and I learned our jobs.
A lot of grunt work.
A lot of grunt work. You probably started out summarizing long reports, checking code for errors, doing basic data entry. That's how you build judgment. You learn by doing the boring stuff first.
And now the agents do all the boring stuff.
Exactly. The AI does the grunt work. So the question is, how does a junior employee learn the context and the judgment to become a senior employee? We are risking breaking the rungs on the career ladder.
You could end up with a generation that knows how to write a perfect prompt for an AI, but doesn't understand the underlying principles of the work it's asking the AI to do.
And that is a potential structural crisis for the entire workforce. Companies need to figure out how to train people when all the training wheels tasks have been automated away.
It's going to require a completely new approach to mentorship and on-the-job training.
We can't just rely on learning by osmosis anymore. It has to be much more intentional.
Okay, let's pivot to some of the other hurdles. The Simply Learn article listed the top 15 challenges for AI in 2026. We can't possibly do all 15.
No.
But let's hit the big ones.
Well, the classics are still here, but they're amplified. Bias. For one, this is more important than ever.
Right.
If your historical hiring data is biased, and let's be honest, it almost certainly is, your new AI agents will just learn and magnify that discrimination. It'll do it faster and at a greater scale.
And transparency. The black box problem isn't going away.
No, in fact, it's getting worse with more complex agentic systems. If an AI denies your loan application, the bank has to be able to explain why. In 2026, under these new regulations, the computer said no is not an acceptable legal defense. You need explainability.
And then there is AI slop. I love that term, even though I hate the thing itself.
It's a great term for a terrible problem. The WEF also mentions this. It's the explosion of low-quality, mediocre AI-generated content that is just cluttering the internet.
It's everywhere.
It degrades the user experience. It makes search results worse. But the hidden danger is that it also poisons the well for training future AI models.
Garbage in, garbage out, forever.
On a planetary scale.
Speaking of consumption, we have to talk about energy. The International Banker and WEF both flag this as a major reckoning.
It is the physical cost of all this digital intelligence. The IEA, the International Energy Agency, has a startling estimate. Data centers could consume double their 2024 electricity usage by 2030.
Double. That's unsustainable.
It's a huge problem. Training these massive models and then running these millions of agents 2047 is incredibly energy intensive.
So are we basically boiling the oceans to write slightly better marketing emails?
That is the risk. That's the dark side of it. But there are solutions emerging. Green computing is becoming a huge priority, not just a nice to have.
Right.
And there's this fascinating concept called following the sun.
Following the sun, it sounds poetic.
It's actually very practical. It means dynamically moving AI workloads between data centers around the globe to whichever ones are in time zones where renewable energy is currently peaking.
So you chase the clean energy.
You chase the clean energy. So when the sun is shining brightest in Arizona, you route your big compute jobs there. A few hours later, when strong winds are blowing in the North Sea, you route your workloads to data centers in Europe.
That is brilliant. It turns the global nature of the internet into an environmental asset instead of a liability.
It does. But it requires massive coordination and infrastructure investment. It's not just a software patch. It's a grid-level transformation.
Which leads us perfectly to the topic of rules. Governance. We've been hearing about the EU AI Act for years, but in 2026, it is fully here. In effect, it is the rule book.
And it is effectively the global gold standard. Everyone is looking to it. The government.nl guide we have in our stack breaks it down beautifully. The core philosophy is a risk-based approach.
Meaning not all AI is treated the same. AIs are not created equal in the eyes of the law.
Exactly. They categorize AI systems based on the potential harm they can cause to humans. At the very top, you have unacceptable risk.
And these are just illegal.
Prohibited. Banned. Outright.
Give us some examples. What is completely banned in Europe now?
Systems that use manipulative techniques to restrict free choice. Government-led social scoring, like you see in some countries.
Right.
And this is a big one. The use of real-time remote biometric identification, like facial recognition, in public spaces by law enforcement.
So they can't just scan everyone's face walking down the street.
No. There are very narrow exceptions for, finding a missing child or preventing an imminent terrorist threat. But mass indiscriminate surveillance is banned.
Okay, so that's the no-go zone. What's the next level down?
That's high-risk AI. This is the category that will affect a lot of businesses. It includes AI used in critical areas.
Like?
Education, employment, managing critical infrastructure, credit scoring, law enforcement, migration, and border control.
So if I'm a company and I'm using an AI to sort through resumes for job applicants, that's high risk.
Yes, absolutely. Because it directly affects a person's livelihood and opportunities.
And what are the requirements for these high-risk systems?
They're very strict. You must have a robust risk management system in place. You must use high-quality representative data to prevent bias. You need detailed logging, so you can always trace why a decision was made. And crucially, you must have meaningful human oversight.
So you can't just let the machine run wild and automate all the decisions?
No, a human has to be in the loop and have the ability to intervene and override the system.
And then there's the category that affects almost everyone now. General purpose AI or GPAI.
Right. These are the large foundational models, like the ones powering the agents we were talking about at the beginning.
So Claude, GPT-4, Gemini.
Exactly. They have specific transparency rules. And if a model is deemed powerful enough, they measure it in FLOPs, which is a measure of computing power. It's considered to have systemic risk.
And that triggers even more rules.
Yes. Those providers have extra obligations regarding cybersecurity, model evaluation, and mandatory incident reporting to the authorities.
I also saw something about a chatbot rule. Is that a real thing?
It is. It's a basic transparency rule. If you are talking to a machine, it must disclose that it's an AI. You, as a user, have the right to know if you're interacting with a human or an AI.
And the same for deepfakes.
Yes. If content is deep-faked or artificially generated, it has to be clearly marked as such.
That distinction they make between the provider and the deployer seems really important too.
It's vital. The provider is the developer, the company that built the model, like an OpenAI or a Google. The deployer is the company that is using it, like the bank using it for credit scoring or the hospital using it for diagnostics.
And they both have liability.
Yes. Under the EU AI Act, both have legal liabilities. A bank can't just buy a biased AI, use it recklessly to deny loans, and then blame the developer when it breaks the law. You are responsible for how you deploy the technology.
So the "I didn't know how it worked" excuse is officially dead.
Dead and buried, at least in Europe.
Okay, so we've covered the tech, the paradoxes, the big challenges, And now the laws. I want to bring it all back to the listener.
Let's do it.
Whether they're a manager, a student, or just someone trying to survive and thrive in the corporate jungle of 2026, given all this, what do they actually do?
Well, a great place to start is to look at the high performers. McKinsey has some really good data on what separates the winners from the losers in this new environment.
What are the winners doing that the others aren't?
First and foremost, they aren't just chasing incremental efficiency. They're not just using AI to write emails 10% faster.
It's not about small tweaks.
No, they are using AI to fundamentally redesign their products, their services, their business models, and they're investing seriously. The high performers dedicate more than 20% of their entire digital budget just to AI technologies.
20%. That is a serious commitment. That's not an experiment.
It's a core business strategy. And they are scaling agents across multiple functions. They aren't doing cute little pilots in a forgotten corner of the company. They're going all in.
And for the individual human, for me, if I want to stay relevant, what is my move?
I'd say there are 3 key things. First, stop trying to compete with the robot on processing speed.
You'll lose.
You will lose every single time. Instead, focus on what the WEF calls those human-centric skills. Analytical thinking, resilience, social influence. The AI can generate the 50-page report, but you need to be the one who can defend its one key recommendation in a tense board meeting, navigate the politics, and handle the pressure when things go wrong.
Be the human in the room.
Be the most human person in the room. Second, embrace what's called the centaur model.
Half human, half horse.
Half human, half AI. You have to learn to collaborate with the agents, let them handle the execution, the booking, the coding, the data crunching. Your job is to handle the strategy, the ethics, and the judgment.
So the agent isn't your replacement. It's your exoskeleton.
That's a perfect analogy. It amplifies your intent and your capabilities.
And the third thing?
Data quality. This is more for the businesses, but it applies to everyone in a way. The Amnesia report is crystal clear on this. Poor data quality is the #1 barrier to successful AI agent implementation.
Garbage in, agent does garbage out.
Exactly. So for any organization listening, clean up your digital house. Now, it's not the glamorous work, but it's the most important.
Clean up your data is the new brush your teeth. It's not exciting, but you absolutely have to do it every day.
You really do.
Okay, so I want to end with a provocative thought for our listeners to take away.
I'm ready.
We've talked a lot today about how agents are freeing us up from rote tasks to focus on more valuable strategic work. That's the dream, right? That's the sales pitch.
That is the dream.
But I have to ask, are organizations actually ready to train everyone to be a strategist?
That is the multi-million-dollar, maybe multi-trillion-dollar question.
Because if you take away all the day-to-day tasks and you turn to your 5,000 employees and say, okay, great news, everyone be strategic now. Do they know how? Do they have the context? Or is that the next crisis?
A workforce that is expected to be brilliant strategists but has never been given the training or the experience to become one.
Exactly.
It connects right back to that Gen Z problem we talked about. Strategy comes from experience, from seeing the patterns in the grunt work over years. If we automate the experience, where does the strategy come from?
We might be creating a strategy gap that's even harder to close than the skills gap.
It's a very real possibility.
Something to mull over as you stare at your beautiful new automated dashboard.
Indeed.
Well, thank you. This has been an incredible deep dive. You've really unpacked the 2026 landscape for us. It is physical, it is agentic, it is regulated, and it is definitely not boring.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating and slightly terrifying world to be living in.
It is. And thank you to all of you for listening to the Data Zen AI podcast. If you want to see the charts, the full breakdown of the EU AI Act, or that list of agentic use cases we mentioned.
All the sources are there.
All the sources are there. Check the full article at the link in the show notes, datazen.top/podcast-AI15.
There is a lot of data there that we just couldn't get to in an hour, so it's really worth a look if this piqued your interest.
Absolutely. And when you're there, please smash that heart button on the article. Leave a comment. We actually read them, and they help us shape these conversations. And of course, make sure you are subscribed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so you don't miss the next deep dive.
It really does help.
It does. So until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and we'll see you in the future.
Goodbye, everyone.